Next question here. What's the minimum amount I can immerse every day and still make progress that I'm happy with? Let me read their full question. It's about immersing in Japanese. So what is the minimum amount of Japanese immersion that is going to have me learn the language successfully at a reasonable pace? Nope, I don't understand that part of it. So that's the question.
Okay.
Basically.
So I think the challenge here is, what is a reasonable pace?
Also
and what is going to make you happy? What I would say is the most important thing is that you're doing something every day and that you're increasing that over time. So it's not important if you're doing a huge number of hours today, because you can always increase the amount of time that you spend later. So if you're in the early stages, the goal is just to form a consistent habit, start immersing with the language, get comfortable with the process, make sure that you have a solid foundation, and then you can start ramping up the time later. There are some people who jump in from day one and do 6-8 hours a day. That is crazy to me. I don't think I could do that.
I don't think most people could do it.
Yeah, right. I have a job. So
even if you didn't have a job, would you want to do that?
No, I tried it with Spanish the very first week that I did it. I took a week off of work and actually went 12 hours a day for 7 days in a row. And it was miserable. I just had constant headaches. So all of that is to say, jumping in and trying to do a lot all up front is a bad recipe for the vast majority of people. It's a recipe for burnout and not long-term success. But if you start with 15 minutes a day and every month you add another 10 minutes until you get up to 3 hours a day, that doesn't take that long. Maybe the first 3-6 months you're not doing very much, but then you get a really solid chunk every day. For a language like Japanese, we generally recommend 2 hours as sort of the bare minimum to our clients. We recommend that. That includes Anki. So we generally say 30 minutes of Anki and then an hour and a half of immersion to see the kind of progress that is necessary to build an actual solid foundation in the process of language learning. So I would sort of put 2 hours as the bare minimum that I would recommend. That being said, if you can't do that today and you need to build up to that, that's fine too. The more comfortable you are with the language, the easier it is to spend more time with it. On day one, when you're not comfortable with it at all, spending 2 hours with Japanese is going to feel terrible. But after a month or two of 1 hour a day, if you then increase to 2 hours a day, it's going to feel a lot better. So don't worry so much about what you're doing today. Worry about where you're trying to go and how much you're trying to put in over time and gradually build up to that. And then if you can maintain that for an extended period of time, that's when you're going to really start to see progress.
To give a concrete number thing, sort of going back to your idea of if you start with 30 minutes per day and then you add additional 30 minutes per day every month. So you start with 30 minutes per day for the first month, an hour a day, hour and a half a day every month until you hit 3 hours. It'll take you around a year to reach that 20% mark, which is the number that we say that's where that fun threshold more or less happens once you hit 20% of the total hours you're aiming for. And if we take the hour Japanese being 3,900 hours to get to that functional fluency level as just a guess number, right? But it's a good target, right? Yeah. That would take you about a year to get to that 20% mark, and then the other 3 years and 3 more years to finish the 80%, right? So that first year is the hardest, so to speak, but then you get into a rhythm, you get that flow, and it's much, much easier to make that progress and get there in, it's a fairly reasonable amount of time. If you look at it in the grand scheme of things. Today, it might feel 4 years, that's a lot of time, but that's how stuff is.
High level fluency in 4 years for a language like Japanese, which is category 4 language, that seems very
rapid.
Yeah, very fast. There's lots of people who've been studying Japanese for 10 years and are still not fluent.
You can mess with those numbers, but as long as you're happy with your progress and your daily amount and you're pulling value out of it, then you can absolutely sort of do whatever number. Just keep in mind that Japanese is a very big language. It will take you a while. So if you're doing 20 minutes a day, it's going to take you a better part of 2 decades. So,
yeah. So always be trying to improve the amount of time, but always be emphasizing sustainability above everything else. The goal is to keep going. If you give up at some point or you burn out at some point and you stop entirely, you're never going to reach your goal. So it's more important to focus on sustainability than on speed.
Absolutely.